guess what? I came back from the disaster that was this bar of soap here and turned it into le piece de resistance. Okay. Sorry, I get excited for the little things these days. Now, I have turned the disaster that was shown in this video here. I thought it was going to be a tutorial. It turned out to be an untutorial, but I fixed it all. I've updated everything, and now I have this fabulous bar of soap here. This is what it looks like, the final, the big dog. Here it is. And I'm taking you through the steps that I used to make this bar here. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, first things first, my problems with the old bar. You can watch the whole video before you watch this one if you want to see what went wrong, to see how I fixed it here for this video. Definitely took a few minutes to update the design. I knew what I wanted it to look like, but then once I kind of saw, even though it didn't turn out, once I saw those colors together, it was looking a bit like mud to me, and that's not the look I was going for. So what I ended up doing was taking out the gold mica line. I went a little bold and added a black mica line. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but it looks amazing. And then I ended up putting some black jojoba beads in the top of it. The bottom is solid. It just, chef's kiss, honestly. I'm very proud of this bar. It's the nicest looking bar of soap I've ever made in my entire life. So if you want to see the real tutorial on how to make the actual soap bar, here it is. Obviously, we have to start everything by sanitizing and cleaning off our workspace. Here, we're just gathering all of our ingredients. I've got my oils, black mica, titanium dioxide, my fragrance oil, which is the coconut soleil from Candle Science. I've got a little tea bag diffuser, which I'm going to use for the mica. I've got my small loaf mold, which is a 4-inch loaf, and little cups. Now, the first thing I'm doing is taking the Lots of Lather Quick Mix that I have melted and cooled. I'm going to put some in, about a tablespoon, in 2 small containers. My reasoning for this is I needed to disperse the titanium dioxide and the cappuccino mica. This is cappuccino mica powder from Brambleberry. So I needed to disperse both of those in a little bit of oil before adding them in. That was definitely something that I did wrong in the first video. So this is where you will see me correct that mistake. My rose water and distilled water lye solution was already pre-made and cooling off camera here. So we're just going to check those temperatures to make sure they are within 10 degrees of each other and they are cooled down. I'm going below 90 degrees for at least one of these. Once you start mixing, you're kind of stuck with what you do, right? So me, I know I always get flustered. So I wanted to make sure that this turned out nicely, taking my time. You know, obviously here it's sped up for you guys, but really just checking my notes that I wrote, the design that I drew, checking all of those things to make sure that I knew exactly what steps to take and which order they were going to be in. I definitely made sure in the meantime to put that jacket on before I was mixing the lye solution. You never want to have exposed skin when you're working with lye and soap batter. Just the oils, they would be messy, you know, it would be fine, but it could get pretty messy. But once you got that lye solution out, you really need to have all of your exposed skin covered and wearing gloves. And we're just going to do a careful little mix. We're just mixing it a tiny bit so everything is incorporated. Do not over mix it. There's really that fine line between over mixing to where it becomes like thick pudding and under mixing where it just turns into a disaster like last time's. So make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to add everything else after. We're looking for kind of like a thicker cake batter type, but again, make sure that it still has plenty of give so you can add your fragrance oils and colors and all of those things. Once I felt it was mixed right, I went ahead and added the fragrance oil to both and started the pour. For me, I was going for more of a rigid line look, so I did wait a few minutes for it to thicken up a bit so the line would stick when I made it. Then I went ahead with the black mica powder. Now, a trick that I have for this is if you're planning on using a mica powder line, they are fabulous, but if you add too much mica powder, what will happen is obviously the bars won't, the top and the bottom section won't come together as one bar. They'll kind of stay separate, right? So when you take it out of the mold, you'll have like a top half and a bottom half instead of one solid bar.
No.
You do?
I eating rice and from Panda Express.
It looks like you ate rice from Panda Express.
Yeah, and I even ate all the chicken.
Yummy, that's good.
Could we get more?
Not today.
When?
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
So the kind of sweet spot here for the mica line is you want, once you put your mica powder on the soap batter, you want to make sure that it looks kind of like it's melting into it. Once it stops melting into it and starts sitting on top of it as powder, that's a sign that you have gone too far. So again, just make sure you put a nice thin line. It's still melting into it, but there's enough there to make the line visible. And here is how thick mine turned out. The other tip here that I have working with mica powder, if you are doing a mica powder line, right, and you have a dark line, but the top section is a lighter color. So for example, mine was brown at the bottom, black mica line, then white with black jojoba beads at the top. You have to make sure you use a paper towel with, I used isopropyl alcohol and it worked fine. A dry paper towel might also work, but I sprayed isopropyl alcohol on mine. You want to make sure that you're wiping off that excess, otherwise the excess mica, this may be like duh, but I didn't get it until I found it for myself. So hopefully I can save you at least a little bit of drama there. Make sure you wipe up the excess that's on the inside of the mold and the outside edge of the mold. Otherwise that's going to go into your soap and be a part of the finished bar. All right, we're pouring up the top. As you can see here, I covered my bar with parchment paper and then wrapped it in a towel. This is to force it to go through gel phase so that all of the colors come out nice and bright. I've noticed a couple times though, if you soap it while the batter is really hot and then you put the parchment on and wrap it in the towel, it can get too hot and the top of your soap will crack. I haven't found a solution for that yet. Maybe there is one, I just haven't found it yet. Forcing your soap to go through gel phase will just make sure that everything kind of like dries and solidifies at the same time. That way there's no ring on the inside of your soap. I did talk about it here in this video. Check it out afterward. It has a lot of great things that I have learned, and I'm sure, I mean, I could probably do parts 2 and 3 to that video right now. Okay, so this is about 48 hours later. I really tried hard to make sure, I wanted to just really make sure that the bar was perfectly dry before I took it out of the mold and cut into it. Trust me, it took everything I had not to do it after day 1, but I wanted to make sure that it was perfect. So as you can see, the top of the bar kind of yellowed, and at first I was really upset by that. It was, you know, I definitely thought the entire bar was going to look like that, and then the sides also made me a little bit nervous, but this is just a great kind of mention of don't judge a book by its cover, because wait until you see the actual cut of this. Hang on. Here we go with the actual cut and reveal. I know it's sideways, guys, sorry. I filmed it for TikTok because I like to do these reveals on TikTok, but look at how it turned out. It looks amazing. I'm so proud of it. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I am so proud of how this bar turned out. Y'all know it has not been an easy road for me. So to have this success was awesome, really. I can't say anything else about it. It was just great. So there you have it, the actual tutorial on how I made this soap bar. And there it is. I love this design because it really is something great that could go so many different ways, so many different colors and fragrances. It's perfect. They make all kinds of different color jojoba beads, so you could really easily, you know, tailor it to your individual style or your brand's aesthetic. It would be perfect. Now, my camera battery is dying, so I'm gonna leave you guys there, but hopefully you subscribe and I'll see you next week.